Hello friend. I want to tell you about the Mitsubishi 3000 GT car. This car, although technically ahead of its time and even the present, was not particularly appreciated on the European market. It is one of the few iconic, sporty Japanese cars that is easy to buy and relatively affordable. It is also the most powerful car in its Japanese class that has not yet become a valued classic. One model, many names and versions. Mitsubishi 3000 GT or GTO, as well as Dodge Stealth. This is one model, which has more names than configurations. The top car can be marked 3000 GTO, 3000 GT, 3000 GT VR4 or GTO Twin Turbo AWD. 11 years of production resulted in 3 generations, which today we would call a facelift. Technically, the changes were minor, but stylistically, the cars from the beginning and end of production differ more than 2 separate generations of the Golf today. Even from today's perspective, the Mitsubishi GTO is a marvel of engineering, provided we're talking about its highest specification, called the 3000 GT VR4. The car has a 3.0-liter V6 transversely mounted in the front, with twin parallel turbochargers, 2 intercoolers and an oil cooler. The heads have 2 camshafts and 4 valves per cylinder, and the exhaust system has variable capacity control. That's why, when stationary, only one pipe releases exhaust gases. It's worth remembering this when buying. The power unit generates from 280 horsepower to 324 horsepower in the export versions of the Mitsubishi sports car. No Japanese sports car in the 90s achieved such high power. Even export specifications rarely exceeded 300 horsepower. Maximum torque is from 415 to 427 Newton meters, depending on the year. The truly fabulous thing about this car, however, was the drive and chassis system. In higher specifications, the car was mounted on shock absorbers with adjustable damping force with spring struts in the front in the form of a classic McPherson, in the rear as a simple multi-link construction. The shock absorbers can be set in 3 hardness positions. Braking was handled by discs with 4 piston calipers in the front and a 2-channel ABS system. The drive was transferred from the engine to one of 3 possible gearboxes. Overseas, it was a classic automatic with 4 gears, in other markets a standard 5-speed manual or 6-speed from 1994. The shorter gear ratios of the latter gearbox clearly affect performance. In reality, this wonderful car is more often found in a poorer version with front-wheel drive and a non-supercharged engine generating 221 to 226 horsepower or in an even simpler version with 12 valves, with power below 200 horsepower. These are absolutely uninteresting cars, usually imported in the form of a Dodge Stealth in accident-free specification, after being saved from scrapping in the USA. In practice, we are not dealing with a competitor to the Honda NSX or the aforementioned Skyline GTR. This is not a car created with the racetrack in mind, or to complete the Nordschleife in Germany as quickly as possible. This is a car that is supposed to provide maximum safety and sensational acceleration, as well as high driving comfort on German motorways. In corners, the GTO behaves quite lazily and sluggishly, and the heavy engine, placed almost entirely in front of the front axle, generates strong understeer. The 4-wheel drive was supposed to be, on the one hand, a demonstration of Mitsubishi's capabilities. It's a pity they forgot about this tradition a long time ago, and on the other hand it was supposed to provide traction on any surface. It doesn't affect the handling characteristics like the 4-wheel steering system, which can, with the right driver input, make the rear axle move. Honestly, only the VR4 variant is suitable for fast driving on winding roads, although even here it is far from the perfectly balanced Nissan Skyline GTR. The manufacturer, especially in the top versions, did not skimp on equipment. That is why on board we will usually find leather upholstery, heated seats, a high-class audio system for the time, even with steering wheel control, airbags, automatic air conditioning and a rich set of indicators monitoring the engine operation. This shows that the Mitsubishi GTO is a real Gran Turismo, not a sports car, although on a straight road, even Honda NSX users could feel uneasy. Finding this car is not particularly difficult, although it is a rarity on the European market. Many copies were wrecked because the engine power exceeded the capabilities of users whose imagination went beyond the limits of Japanese engineering. In Germany, this is not a major problem, but you should be careful with cars imported from the USA, very often after accidents. Buying a car that is corroded, GTO has no big problem with that, or has been in an accident means that there is not much that can be repaired. Technology is technology, but finding the right body parts can be difficult. If the floor and suspension have a problem with geometry, it is also not easy to straighten it out. The same applies to the drivetrain, which is basically unrepairable considering the costs. Its durability is high, but only if the user has some common sense or has experienced more than one such model. Those who have or had a Lancer Evolution know what I mean. 2 or 3 strong clutch shots can destroy the differential and send the clutch itself to the scrapyard. Destroying the gearbox or even the central differential itself means looking for used components. The principle of what you buy, what you get also applies to active aerodynamics or the exhaust system. Often the front splitter stops being active after hitting the curb, and the exhaust system only works properly in the original. Service can be a challenge. While the car is incredibly durable and reliable, due to its age, many wear and tear parts, as well as non-wear parts, are subject to periodic replacement. Unfortunately, the bad news is that this also applies to the timing drive, which the manufacturer recommends replacing every 90,000 kilometers. By extending this mileage to 100,000 kilometers, you will not harm the engine. Unfortunately, an inexperienced mechanic can just lift the hood to understand what's going on. The engine barely fits in the engine compartment, which is tightly packed with accessories. The huge number of cables and pressure lines makes repairs difficult, and it's not easy to find a service manual online that allows you to easily disconnect and put everything back together. Replacing the timing drive itself won't be easy, and removing the head located at the back must be preceded by other, numerous activities. Fortunately, the valves are not subject to periodic adjustment. We have a hydraulic system here. The engine needs good quality 10W60 oil changed to fresh every 8 to 10,000 kilometers. We recommend buying oil for the transmission at an authorized service station according to the year and specification of the car. Savings in this area can cost a lot. Other operating elements can usually be bought in wholesalers, but this does not necessarily have to apply to the suspension. When sealing the engine, it is worth using original parts, although leaks are rare here. Generally, we recommend good systems from ASO, where you can get big discounts on such classics. And sometimes they will come in handy. It is worth looking for a version from the beginning of production, up to 1994, with opening lights as a potential classic, or from the end, with the lowest mileage, as a car for everyday driving. Production ended in 2001, so a 15-year-old example will not be worn out. The problem is that the most popular years are 1992 to 1996. The 3000 GT has not been offered in Europe since 1998. Cars with service records are worth their weight in gold. There is no point in looking for a VR4 at all costs. There are very few examples left. It is better to find a well-maintained, different version. Is it worth buying a Mitsubishi 3000 GT? On the one hand, no, because as a sports car it loses to the more popular and safer to use Impreza or Lancer Evo, while similar comfort is offered by Mercedes or BMW coupes. On the other hand, the Mitsubishi 3000 GT is an extremely original and still affordable car with great power and excellent performance, which you can talk about during a meeting with your friends, and you will often be accosted on the street by interested people. This is a car for an enthusiast. The sporty Mitsubishi is so charming that, unlike many other sports models, it is very reliable and durable, and also safe and comfortable. Appearance is a matter of taste, but regardless of whether someone likes it or not, It effectively attracts the attention of passers-by. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.
I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what breaks and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with, and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro.